Well, everybody, please welcome our guest today, Moira Quirk. It is a pleasure to have you on. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Very, very well, thank you. Thank you for coming
There.
on the show.
Yes, and we've conquered time differences.
Conquered
It
time
has been
differences, conquered
it has been
computers.
surmounted
Yep.
and yeah,
And
and
we are
so
here.
far, so far, tech has been friendly,
Yeah.
kind of.
And you would know all about tech over the last few years with all this pandemic stuff and the shift in the industry. How's that been for you?
Oh, it was absolutely horrifying. Um, Never before have I been assailed with such a steep learning curve.
So you
It was
weren't really a
immediate.
computer tech person before?
No,
No.
and I have to say, like, I can be very cruel to myself and very critical, but there is something about voiceover that I had been doing it for quite a long time, and I was, when COVID hit, I was like, why don't I know more? Why don't I understand this? Um, and it's very separate. I go into a booth that is far away from I don't see knobs being twiddled, and I don't see people discussing how they're going to treat the voice or any of that. It's just it was very
Plain Jane.
yeah, it was very distinct. I was there and everything else was separate from me. So I hadn't learned anything through assimilation over the years. And then one day they said, "Hey, here's a horrible disease. Learn everything now, yesterday."
And how quick
So
was this studio already built before then? Or
no,
no?
I started off with, and I'd sort of assembled it as sort of a audition area. Just when I had a USB mic, I had my laptop, and I just had a drum isolation unit that I'd bought.
A
Um,
drum isolation unit.
you know,
What
like
is that?
when in churches and stuff, when you just don't want it to be so drum forward, and it's just basically an octagon that the
Okay.
back. Do you get what I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just used those boards and I just made I rearranged it. I just made basically a telephone booth.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when COVID hit, I was like, oh, I'm going to do the whole octagon and put a top on it. Um, I'm going all out,
All out. Yeah.
bunting and everything. So yes, that was quickly assembled in the back room, and then I was fortunately working. I was working on the game Destiny 2.
Yeah.
We were sort of a third of the way into whatever was required for that series of recordings. Then COVID hit and they said, "Oh, would you be prepared to record at home?" And I said, sure, but you're going to have to hold my hand. And they just sent an entire recording set for me, the microphone,
The whole
the
shebang.
the whole shebang.
And do they help you
And
set it up, or they just give you?
a man came and threw it on my front door, basically, because
Yeah.
nobody wanted to. It was really early COVID when everyone was a high state
You're
of
not
panic.
actually joking. They still throw shit at my door now.
Tomatoes and old pumpkins or
No, not quite
equipment.
that bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So, yes. And then I was on YouTube a lot learning how to use Logic Pro 10, which I'd never used before. They didn't give me Pro Tools, probably because it was too expensive. They gave me Logic, and yeah, and I had to learn how to use that, use a company called Source Connect, oh God, it was nuts. And
And when
so
was this? 2019, early
no, this was 2020, like March
2020.
of
Okay.
2020. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I got better. There's things you just don't know. I didn't know that my MacBook Pro was really, really loud and made fan noises. It was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a deeply, deeply enriching learning curve.
Like that word. Yeah.
Yes.
And now,
Um,
if you're a 1 out of 10 at skill back then, where are you now out of 10, do you think?
oh, I'm a resistant 6.
A resistance 6. Okay.
Yeah,
It's not too bad.
I
Progression.
know only what I need to know, I'm sure I
Oh,
could
okay.
learn a lot more. I really do. Okay,
You
I
don't want to
am.
go any further with it.
Yes, not interested. I would really, really like the professionals to do it for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, and any time that I can go and be in a studio, it's like, yes, please.
Yeah. So are you starting to see that change now? You're going into studio a lot more now for different projects?
Yes. I think, well, there's COVID's been reclassified, and most of the studios are now set up with Screen Actors Guild rules. They know how to run a session. I think everyone's careful. And so hopefully it'll just mean, I mean, I have gotten COVID. I mean, I've got children. Those dirty buggers brought it home.
I've had it 4
Um,
times. Would you believe?
yeah, well,
Still
they
standing,
say,
but yeah.
no, look at you. You look great. Um,
Yeah.
but what was I going to say? Yeah, so there's all sorts of rules, and hopefully all these rules mean I won't get the flu or other lurgies that are going around. I mean,
Yeah. So
I'm a Pollyanna. That's a positive spin, isn't it? I won't get other lurgies.
I haven't heard that word in a while. I want
Yeah.
to know when was the first time you went back in the booth and what was that feeling like? Do you remember out of COVID?
It was probably going back to Warner Brothers.
For
Um
Hogwarts?
yeah,
Oh
for
wow.
Hogwarts Legacy. That was the
Nice.
first time I probably went back in studio. Um and there were still weird yet necessary rules. It was just Warner Brothers, the joints are jumping. It's a studio. It's cool. And it was just really desolate, and it was a little
Really?
depressing. It was a little depressing, actually. Um,
Damn.
but I loved being in the studio and having there's a guy Dutch took care of me and lowered the microphone. I'm quite short, so it was just nice having that all set up and not worrying and not having to send in files. And yeah, I like to just come in and do the thing that I'm good at
And
and
did
worry
you
about that.
for Hogwarts, were you coming in as a bit of a character actor where you were doing multiple roles, or did you book the role as Professor Garlick and then they said, "We've got a few more here if you wouldn't mind reading for
That's
these"?
that's generally how it goes. They will generally try and throw other things at you. It's sort of like whenever you would go in for animation, you would be expected to do at least 3 roles. It would be rare just to go in and do one. And it's games sort of, I think, became or followed that model. So
Mm.
yes, I was booked for. They said you're playing this, and when I sort of turned up for session number 1, it was also and this and this. So I think probably I've been a dark wizard as much as I've been
Really?
Professor Garlick. There's always been some dark wizard
What's
roles.
that
I
dark
mean,
wizard voice?
lines.
Can we hear that? Do you have that in you still?
What is she? She's just really a rough down
Oh
market
yeah,
London
she you don't
girl.
want to mess with her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a bit thick as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she's
Right.
not quite there, not quite all there.
Yeah, she's too stupid to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. So you did
Yeah.
just as much as that as okay. So
Maybe I mean I don't know how those and there's probably characters that I did that weren't used, and I know that there was one time I recorded a character I was supposed to be a student, but I'd done a previous session that had just wrecked my voice, and so I did basically come in like flipping B. Arthur, just going, hello, I'm a student, but I'm here to learn magic, and it didn't fly. So
yeah, she's
yeah, I
stayed down
don't.
a few levels. She was supposed
Yeah,
to
just
graduate many years ago.
yeah, I've been held back many years.
So she didn't quite make it okay.
Yeah, I did the classes. It didn't do me no good. Yeah,
Can you do Australian? I'm curious because that's the one accent that a lot of voice actors struggle with. I feel like
I
it's a
I
tough one.
try when I do Australian, which is
Oh, that's
I
good
try
actually.
to do it. I try to do it very delicately because it's just that close.
That's pretty good,
You know what I
actually.
mean?
That's pretty good.
If you sort of work backwards, when, like, here we go. When an English person is being posh, they go all rather like this, or you can be like the Queen. But when an Australian person is being posh, they just tend to sound British. Do you know what I mean? So I sort of worked
Yeah.
backwards for that one.
Wow. How do
But
you
that was
learn
quite
stuff like that? Because you would have never booked an Australian role, surely. Like
oh, sure.
how would you have learnt that just then? Like, are you just riffing
From
by yourself?
watching films and
Yeah,
television. Yeah, just
that's
from
it.
listening to it. Yeah.
Wow.
Because we got Australian shows in the, for the BBC. They didn't have much money, and Australian shows were probably quite cheap.
True.
Canadian ones too.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what show? What shows? I know. I think
I don't know
Neighbours is a
what I
big
would have.
one. I feel like.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Neighbours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, Gran. Yeah. I was those years, and I was definitely the I can't remember now. Now she's a pop star, but I can't
Kylie
remember.
Minogue.
Yeah, Kylie
Yeah.
Minogue.
She's big
Yeah.
in the UK. Yeah, isn't she? Yeah.
Yeah. Became yeah.
So,
So
have you ever been here before? By the way.
no, and I'm desperate
Oh,
to.
gotta come.
I am because the writer, well, just because I've always seen it, because two of my favorite books are about Australia. So, Bill Bryson, who always writes his travelogues and can be a little dyspeptic, like his books, which makes them funny because he's just so over it a lot of the time. But Australia is just his travels there is just such a love letter.
Mm.
He just is besotted with the country, and it's delightful. It's a really lovely read. If Australians want to feel good about themselves, then they should read that book and see how Bill Bryson views them.
Wow.
Um, and then the other one was, I can't, can I remember it? A Town Like Alice, Neville Shute. I read that when I was a teenager,
Wow.
and God, what was the part? And it's not a funny book. It's quite touching actually, but there's a part that made me laugh is like she travels from England to go and reconnect with this Australian that she met during the war on that horrible march
Oh,
during the
yeah.
Second World War. But Australia, you always hear about Sydney or Melbourne, or I just absolutely bodged the pronunciation of that. So
No, no,
forgive
that
me,
was good.
Australia. Yeah, Melbourne.
That's
Uh,
beautiful.
but she goes to the outback. She goes to Alice Springs.
Wow.
She's on a station, and every morning, this was the part. Every morning, she just asks for some eggs, and she's just a delicate British lady, and they give her a big beefy plate of like steak and eggs every morning. It drives her crazy. She goes, "Could I please just have the eggs without the steak?" And it just is so confusing to them. And I thought that was such a hilarious way of presenting, culture
Yeah, that's
conflict and
amazing. I can tell you're really into reading. Is there anything that
mm.
that has really touched you, or anything you can recommend over the last few years that you've read?
Do you know what? My reading has very much changed just because I have such a workload of audiobooks these days.
That's your reading
So
time now. Yeah.
that's sort of my reading
Mm.
time. I did finally I do like literature. So I did finally get around to reading our mutual friend Dickens, and I loved it because I just like falling into something. But I also love espionage, so I've been reading a lot of Ben McIntyre, if you've ever read
Oh,
any of
yeah,
his
yeah,
books
yeah.
though. Because
Yeah.
I love all that espionage stuff. It just
What do you
is.
love about it? What gets you going with that?
I think it's the lying. I think it's so perplexing to me. And I think maybe it's because being an actor,
But you're not mischievous yourself. Is that why it's the contrast?
I think it's because I lie as a living, but it's okay. It's beneficent. It's for the good. It's for the good of the world
Oh,
to act
okay.
out things and to pretend to be something you're not. But just the insidiousness of every moment of your life being a lie for it to work.
Yeah.
I find that just utterly baffling.
Interesting.
It's yeah, I can't I can't get enough
Can't
of
get
it. One
enough.
day I'll
Yeah.
work it out. Yeah.
So back to Hogwarts.
Yes.
How did you find working on this character? Because she is ended up being probably one of the most popular characters in the game. Everyone loves that luscious red hair, that
Oh, she's
beautiful
gorgeous,
voice.
isn't she?
Well, yeah, I
She's
mean,
really cute. Um, I kept being told by my director, her name is Natalie Gray, and
shout out to Natalie.
she, yes, and she kept explaining to me, she goes, she's so kind and loving, and she's going to be the teacher that the students love, and so because I do get brought in to be sort of, I don't know, snarky or silly, or and there was just a sincerity and earnestness to her that that really required investment. So if that succeeded, then I'm super happy about it. And there was actually a time, this also because of COVID, that I was supposed to go and get myself in one of them
In the
mocap
suits
suits and
for
go
her.
and prance around for
Oh, wow.
Professor Garlick. But because of COVID, there was no way that it was going to happen
What a shame.
here. Yeah, I would have loved to have spooned myself into a mocap suit. I was born for one.
Come off it.
Uh,
I would
well,
be spooning myself in one.
my
I
God,
would be the one struggling.
it would have
You'll
been
be
just like,
fine.
oh, now we see why you're a voiceover artist. Um,
No,
but
come on.
I would have enjoyed the experience. But they sent it all off, all of that work to a whole Canadian crew because apparently it was okay to do it in Canada. And then the weird part of the job for me was then to then basically ADR my character and then put my version of Mirabel Garlick back into those mouth flaps.
Yeah, that's what Matthew said. Matthew Waterson, who plays the
Yes,
villain,
yes.
he said that was one of the biggest challenges trying to time it. But you have such an extensive background in ADR and looping and all that sort of thing that you probably were accustomed to this, no?
It helps, but here's the thing that always happens when you do beginning of the session, it got started as if it was voice matching. And I think we were about maybe 7 blocks of dialogue in, and I went, oh, no, hang on, this isn't a voice matching job. I'm not to do what she's doing. They played it back for me, and I went, oh, and it was sort of revelatory. I went, that's not Professor Garlick. That's not Mirabel Garlick. We went back to the beginning of the session. It wasn't too far in, fortunately, and I went back in and went, oh, here she is. Because it's so easy just to copy. And I had to
Mhm.
really work it. And not that she was a terrible actor or anything like that. It was different. That was her take on the character, but it was very different than what we'd established for the previous like year and a half. And
Yeah.
so I had to sort of reset my head and do the timing of the mouth flaps and put the character that I'd established back in. That was actually kind of an exciting, and I feel we were successful. And there's so many times that, you can drive back from a session or an audition or something and just go, that whole peanut sort of like, with your shoulders all slumped and just go, oh God, that was terrible.
Mhm.
But I actually came back with my dendrites all on fire because I learned sort of this new skill, and I kind of went, oh, this session has really made me realize I did create something. That is something that that was a singular thing that I did, and I reestablished that, and I claimed that character back.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's a good way to
So
look at it too, I think. Yeah, definitely.
yes. And so I actually had some self-esteem that day.
How
Yeah.
does it
I,
feel for you seeing the game cross 12 million played? 12 million people have played it, bought
that's
it,
that's bananas, isn't
and
it?
it's probably 10 million plus have seen your work, seen the characters
That's
that you've brought.
so funny.
Yeah.
Do you know what though? There's so many there's so many games that I've worked on that I maybe don't understand as well as I should. Like so many games, the first 30 minutes is the director explaining the entire lore to you or reminding you of the entire lore.
Good
And
luck with
now actually,
Destiny,
oh,
figuring that one.
Destiny is like 40 minutes of explanation for me before we
That would go in
restart
this
each
year
time.
and out the
And
other.
I know, and I'm like, okay, yep. Ooh, the stakes are high. I generally have to say, oh, I didn't think the stakes could get higher. They just did. Oh, yeah. So they always blow my mind. They're so lovely to work for. I really do
Oh, they
love.
are, aren't they?
love
Yeah, they're great.
yes, yes, lovely, lovely, lovely. Um, but this one, and I also fortunately now have a gamer daughter,
Oh, wow.
and all of her pals, and she will explain things to me because that's just a lot of lore. And obviously, I've just mentioned I'm very analog and read Dickens, and so her explaining things is quite helpful. But this, I came into my first Hogwarts Legacy session. I didn't know what it was called. It had a different name.
You didn't know
And
it
they
was
said,
Harry
well,
Potter at all.
I did once. Yeah,
Okay,
I did.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
But I've got silly stories about other games I haven't realized I've been in. But when they started explaining stuff, I was just like, excuse me, no, no, no explanation necessary. I'll take it from here. But because they would be like, this spell is no, no, I know, I know my Leviosa and Leviosa. So there was a lot of, and they'd say, well, these are the creatures. I know. So yeah, I was good to go on this game, and it's beautiful, and it's just I'm it's just very exciting that, like, I mean, I was a full grown adult when I read these books, but it's very exciting that people who were children who probably got to 11 and were waiting for an owl to arrive and it didn't, because let's face it, it didn't, but they get this. So that's kind of a lovely thought.
I love that, yeah. Because I would have read these books when I was about 9 or 10, I feel like, in the
Oh,
movies.
that seems
Because I'm
yeah.
about the same age as Daniel Radcliffe, I think, or he might be slightly older. So I sort of grew up with him a little bit. And this is the
Yes.
first time I've been able to explore Hogwarts to that level of detail with that richness. So it's been incredible, really.
Oh, fun.
Mm.
Yeah. Does it make you feel light and childlike?
Yeah, there is sort of a friendly nature to the game, a calmness or a just a nice vibe about it. Do you know what I mean? There's just a friendly atmosphere or something. I can't put my finger on the
Cool.
word, but
So you
yeah.
haven't been running around doing bad spells.
Well, that was for the first few hours, and then I had to join Slytherin and start tormenting everyone. So that was a different playthrough. But
Oh, fun. So you get to have different experiences.
exactly,
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. But I can
Get to
never be
try on
rude
different
to.
hats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I can never be rude to Professor Garlick. I mean, she's the best. You know.
Yeah. I mean, she's going to love a Slytherin.
Oh,
She's
you
going to love
think
a
so?
Slytherin. Of
Okay.
course, she'll find. There were some lines I had to do. I remember them where I had to come in and say, I really don't think you ought to be here. And it was
Really?
obviously people getting up. So I don't know if that's. It's so funny knowing that there must be so much, as much as ends up in a game.
Mm.
like a film, there must just be so much that gets cut out because it just can't
No,
work.
I feel
Or
like that is in there. I feel like if you get the really dark spells and start doing them in her classroom when it's just you two, I think that triggers. I think it's a bit of a hidden dialogue. I feel like, yeah.
oh, okay,
Yeah. So I think they did use that in the end, which is cool.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you remember about playing the character and getting into the voice? Is that the voice that you had from the start, or did you develop it, or what?
Let me think. Well, Natalie was just like, well, just use your normal voice. And so I thought she meant a little East Midlandsy, which is where I'm from. And I went, she can't mean that because it's not necessarily the nicest accent. I love my hometown, but really, um, yeah. So I think probably those first couple of sessions, it did sort of settle in a sort of a south of England, not received pronunciation as they know it, but well spoken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think it was N. Rytel, N, who I was talking to, who's in the game. He voices about 40 characters. It's incredible.
Yeah.
He was saying he reckons they hired every Brit in LA to be in this game.
I think Matthew and I talked about that because
Uh,
the funny thing is I would do sessions after Matthew
oh,
at
cool.
Warner Brothers, and just the slapstick comedy of seeing Dutch, the engineer, bring the microphone down from
Because he's tall
seven
like me.
foot
Yeah.
nine,
Yeah.
7'9" to flipping munchkin size. It was a good couple of feet. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, but I'm jealous of you because you're going to live longer than all of us,
Because
Moira.
short people do.
Yeah, I
Is that
think they
right?
do. I think they do.
Yeah.
You don't think
Because
so?
well, I don't know. There seems to be some longevity in my family. We'll
Yeah?
see. Yeah.
Nice.
I'll write you the letter a letter towards my end times and say, "Are you still here? I am."
We'll still be
Ah,
interviewing at that point. You'll still be working because I feel like you'll never stop working. A bit like me, you'll never retire. You know what I mean?
I hope. I don't have a plan to,
No.
really.
But when
I
you love
kind
it, you
of
can't retire, can you?
no, because then I'd be bored. I just want to travel, read, and do voiceover.
What's your
Solid.
favorite accent to do, by the way? I'm curious.
I love doing Scottish. I
Oh,
love Scottish. I
so
think
fun.
it's so lovely. Yeah, so I got to do some, and I mean, I didn't end up playing the burly 500-pound Scottish bruiser. Can you imagine? Yeah. They think it's own brew, but it's actually beer.
It
Uh
reminds me of Austin Powers,
oh yes.
fat bastard, that voice.
Ah, bastard. Yes. And he did that in what was the other one? I Married an Axe Murderer as well. He'd.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, you look like an orange on a toothpick. Yes.
uh,
So
I think
yes,
I
I
think
like
what
that.
people might not realize is that you're actually you've done stand up, haven't you? Stand up comedy.
Yeah, but can I tell you what sort of puts a damper on that? Having some children and paying attention to them. So
Yeah, I know. Those
it
bloody
really,
bastards, yeah.
yeah. I think one time I left LA to do a show in Rhode Island, it's just like, where's the opposite of LA? And it was this place in Rhode Island, and I needed to get back because I had a baby. What needed me? And I think I went to Rhode Island, did a comedy show, got back on the plane and came back all within 24 hours. And I went, I can't do this. This is crap. It's going to kill me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So there were some years of child rearing and then slowly claiming my career back again. It takes a while.
So how long did you actually do that for? How long?
Do stand
Yeah,
up
how long did you dip your feet in that? Because that's got to be one of the
several
toughest things
years.
you could do. Sit, sitting there
Yeah,
and just
and it,
being trying to be
well,
funny.
but if you're not trying,
Well,
um,
yeah.
I did such a hybrid of sort of storytelling type stand up. So I did do some stuff where it then became one person shows, but I could also use it as stand up. And also I could do sort of, having done improv, I could make improvisational evenings. But I think it was just a combination. eh, It was a combination of the travel being in just almost impossible with young children and
Yeah.
babies, and then I did a show that, just one of those ones that just was a dark night of the soul sort of show, where I had done my stuff, which was good, but it wasn't what they wanted. They just wanted a bunch of blowjob jokes, and I just went, ah, I mean, I could be home with my kids and not dealing with this. They want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
have me around, and yeah, and it's just my husband's a comedian and performer, and it's just like I just you do
You take the
that.
reins. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
What's
mean,
that
he
like
was
on the
sort of
at the
probably
dinner
making
table with two comedian parents?
very, very boring. Very boring. We are very off. We are not on. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're yeah. I mean, we have fun. We love each other. We found that out during COVID as well. I guess we get on. I guess we're all quite fond of each other. But that's a COVID plus. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's very off. When he's not performing, he looks quite tired. Generally
Yeah.
because he is.
Yeah, because you can't be on all
You
the
can't be
time.
on all the
Nah.
time. That's terrible. That's
Yeah.
not a real life. No. So
Is
so we
he
do.
does he like is he moving around a lot or
No, he built a career where he doesn't travel very much either. He's very LA based.
that's
Yeah.
good.
You can follow him on Broken Juggler, Broken something dash juggler. So yeah. And during COVID, when he had absolutely every single show cancelled, and life just really changed the most for him. I mean, I had a daughter who had to come back from college, and a daughter who just basically spent high school at home. Um, but he just, his whole life was just like changed. So he just went out and started making funny little videos for the TikTok and the Instagram reels, and just really sort of ended up going viral. I don't really understand it, but he did, and so he did that. Yeah.
Now, I'm curious why you haven't gone on there because if you just went on there and did anything to do with this character, I'm thinking million hits in 24 hours. So
Do you think so?
what's stopping you at this
I'm a
stage?
shy extrovert, is what it is. I really am.
Oh yeah,
And
okay.
I struggle with it. Like, if you get me out, I am a good time and I'm going to have fun.
But
But
you got to get you out.
I got to get home because I really love it there as well. And I will perform, like, after this, I'm probably just going to go and read, but it will have been a lovely chat and I will have super enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But and I maybe it's not everybody. I think I am a bit British in feeling like, well, I mustn't talk about myself or that's a bit showy offy
Yeah.
or yeah,
Australians are the
that
same, but Americans have no issues with that. It's funny, isn't
no.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I read a beautiful book by it wasn't, it was a quick read, but Linda Opes, who ran, I don't know which studio it was here in LA, MGM, Sony, I don't know what it was, but she ran it for about 2 years. Hello, He Lied, and Other Stories from the Hollywood Trenches is the book. And she said, you can be modest once you're successful.
Mm,
And I
interesting.
think, and it's sort of a genius way of looking at it. It was once another
It's true. It's sort of
revelation
true,
for
isn't
me.
it? Yeah.
Well, and it is true. Like, if somebody's going to hire me and they say, how's your Scottish accent? Are they going to hire me? I think I have a great Scottish accent. I've just said it out loud, so there it is, and I'm going to blush a lot. But It's more than serviceable. But if they ask me that question, then my answer should be yes. I do have a Scottish accent, and it's excellent. Because who's going to hire me if I just go? Well, I don't. Well,
Yeah.
perhaps I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to you,
No,
really.
it's true.
And
Yeah,
and
it's
it
true.
really is. I find it very hard to live by that, honestly.
Mm.
But I have been asked about Cameo and doing all of that.
Have you? And you still contemplating it, or is it a flat no?
I think I just have to be. Why don't I have this for the later years of my life? Is just being brave and conquering that shyness.
Yeah.
I think I need to do that. We'll
Well,
see. And if it's hateful and it's not for me, I suppose I can retreat. I had Twitter for a while, and then my account got whisked away from me. I don't know what the hell happened to it. And then I saw that somebody else seemed to own it, and
oh, that sounds
I
terrible.
contacted Twitter, and they were no help whatsoever. So
No.
I did restart a second account, and it looks so lame and sad. But my husband's always telling me, you need to say hello to people. They want to just say hi and thank you, and that'll be enough. So I'm not uppity, I'm just a bit shy.
Okay, well, why don't we do something now? You don't have to if you don't want to. Why don't you
Sure.
say hi to the people around the world watching as Professor Garlick?
Oh, but of course. It would be so lovely to meet all of you in person, but let's just throw out some seeds and see where they land and what grows from them. I think that's a special idea. Something like that, Dan?
That voice is so soothing, you know. I'm back in the, what do you call that auditorium? What is it called? Where she sort
Oh,
of in her
in
what?
her greenhouse?
Greenhouse.
In her
That's it.
greenhouse,
Yeah,
yeah.
greenhouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm being transported back there. Thank you.
There.
No, that yeah, it's
Yeah.
it really is
It would
amazing.
be. It would be really rather nice to spend all your time in a greenhouse. I think that would be soothing. Yeah. I'm a terrible keeper of plants though, so maybe this is my biggest acting job ever. Most successful.
I thought you were going to say you went all method acting on this one and started
No.
just transforming your house, the garden's
I know.
luscious.
I used to think I was great. I had this plant that I got probably when I was about 13, and I even took it with me to college, and it profused in growth. It just and I thought, well, look at me flipping two thumbs, both of them green, crack gardener. And after that, I just
It fell apart, did it?
after that plant, there was all sorts of things I tried, and they're just like deader than dead. And I realized, oh, I'm not a good gardener. It's just that plant had a terrific will to live.
I can resonate with that. Trust me.
It was very determined.
Yeah.
And it bested me. So it was a very successful plant.
I've come
in
to the
spite of me.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've come to the conclusion that I just have fake plants now in the house.
I think I have to do that.
Yeah. And people think they're real. I say, yeah, oh yeah, it's real. And then they touch it and they go, don't know about that.
Well, what are they flipping doubting Thomas having to prod everything?
I know, right? Yeah.
So rude.
Oh, you know what these people are like. So you mentioned your daughters, was it, that they were a bit of gamers? Have they?
Yes.
Have they tried
yes.
Hogwarts yet?
Not yet. I think I'm gonna. She said, "Are you going to get a code for that?" And I said, "I don't think I am for this one, just because so many people were involved. I think if they probably gave a code to everyone involved, they wouldn't make any money. They would, though, wouldn't they?
Well, they would.
So
I think you should ask for one.
Her.
Come on.
I should, shouldn't I?
Yeah. Do you have a few codes?
Right,
They'll
then.
give it. They'll give it to you.
Yeah. So I'll try that, and otherwise I'll buy it for her because she's lovely and she deserves it. But yeah, I think she would. She says she's excited. I said, "Would you want to play it?" And she just went, "Yes." So she's waiting. She's being very patient.
And I know you're not a gamer, but do you ever go on YouTube and look at your work? Do you ever like? Do they
I
ever give
did.
you any? You did?
I
Yeah.
did. What was I had to look up? It was probably several years. I'm building a new website because my website's entirely out of date now. So look out for that later. Um,
Nice.
but I had to put a few clips on, and I play a character named Alara Dawn in the Star Wars The Old
Oh,
Republic.
people love that game. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I laughed my pants off because I'd sort of I that was my learning moment in that game, was that romancing characters. Um
Yeah. Right.
and so I'd done so many. She would love an Excel spreadsheet, this character. She was all about paperwork and and was just very sort of officious. I don't mean officious, that's not the right word. Anyway, um,
Information
but
heavy.
yeah, information heavy, and she was just very serious and get the job done
Yeah.
and seemed no nonsense.
Mm.
And then you kind of learn, oh well, maybe she's like a sexy secretary, takes the glasses off and then it all happens. But but yeah, because then I started getting these lines where she's talking with the player, and they get it on, and that was hilarious for me. And then they're gonna get married, and I was just like, oh my god, we're gonna choose curtains and a couch together. That's just gonna be a massive part of the game. But when I went onto YouTube, I didn't realize that you could do that and put her in a flipping like gold bikini,
Oh no.
a
Yeah.
la
People do that all the time. Yeah.
Princess Leia, and I was just like, seriously? That that was madness. But I
That's going to
kind of
happen to
loved
Professor
it.
Garlick sooner or later. You know that, don't
I
you?
expect so. Somebody said they were. I was seeing that people were going to cosplay her, and it's just like,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
hat, veg, ginger wig,
Yep.
you're on your way.
It's actually a
Yeah,
pretty easy sort of get
I
up,
know.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's pretty. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is funny how the internet and YouTube take things. Well, if you ever want to see your Hogwarts work, I've got all Professor Garlick's scenes on my channel, so you can check that out. All your
I
dialogue
will.
in one video. But I'd be remiss if I don't talk about Destiny as well, because people love your work on that game. What can you tell us about it, and how much fun was it?
It was really fun, and I really enjoyed the director, Kevin McMullen, and as I said, they're all lovely, lovely people. And I started off as the
Hmm.
emissary of the Nine. Um, and that was sort of my first sort of batch of
Which is like a
recording
grandiose
sessions.
voice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was sort of presentational and
Mm.
oh, I don't know what the word is, but it's
Yeah.
this. Whoa. Um,
Yeah.
and then 2019, probably the end of 2019, early 2020, I think whoever had played the Exo Stranger went on to bigger and better things. So they needed a new person to come in, and that ended up being me. Um, yeah, and so there was that trying to
Do you have to voice match?
meld. I think I was supposed to, and she has a bit of a transatlantic
Yeah.
accent. I think she's English but has lived here a long time. And
Not
I'm
an easy
like,
one to replicate.
it it wasn't, and I don't know that I've been entirely successful. I think maybe for the first time when I wasn't so aware of it, and then I think when I just came in for maybe Witch Queen and this last one, that's Lightfall, I kind of think we might have overcorrected a little bit, or it might have been that we were trying to incrementally get to a place where Anna Bray and Elsie Bray sound more alike.
Mm.
I don't know. I think if I am to come back, that said, um, I think that might require some discussion of where that necessarily is going to
Mm.
land.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really done a thing. I've always sort of built characters from whole cloth, so that was the first time of coming in and having that sort of challenge.
Yeah, that is a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
I
not
think
a
I
typical
acted it
thing
all
that you have to
right.
go through either.
Um,
Is
I
it?
don't know. I mean, I would imagine so when these games last for so many years, like Star Wars, The Old Republic. I've been on that game since 2011. I
Do you still do
mean,
work for that?
yeah, they gave me another
Wow.
character, Aaron Lanier, who's a Jedi empath, different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wow. I didn't know
yeah.
it was still going, that game.
And
Yeah.
then all the other million you said talking about characters, and then you're also this and this and this, and I don't remember them. I, I
Oh,
honestly,
no, you
when people
can't.
say
No.
no, not at all. I don't even know. Sometimes I've turned up to sessions for games. I was going to tell you this that I don't even know what game I'm working on. It's changed now. I think they have to be more upfront about what the actual game is and tell
Well, they
you.
usually give you a
But
code name, don't they?
yes,
Mm.
generally. And then I think the SAG rules came like, yeah, generally, yeah, we're going to give you a code name, but you really do have to know what you're working on because how else are you going to be able to, you know,
Mm.
negotiate? And also, do you want to be on that game? And is it a conflict with something else or whatever? But yeah, because it was ages for me. It took me a long time to work out that I'd been on Skyrim because people were just going to YouTube and binging me on my very, very old uh YouTube thing that I don't quite understand. And great work on Skyrim, Carlia. And I was just like, and I was writing back, no, sorry, chaps, you've got it wrong. I'm not
Oh,
in that
really? You
game.
didn't know?
Yeah. I just said, I don't know, no, I haven't been in that one. But thank you so much. It was nice of you to reach out.
Oh, no.
And then I realized, I was in it. Because it
That's
had a different
so
name.
funny.
Yeah, it's a bit stupid, really. And then
Well,
the second time it happened on the same game, Skyrim, and I hadn't realized I'd been on the other version. There was just another iteration of it, and I went, well, fool me once. Yeah, so that's all on me. Moira
no.
Quirk,
Well,
voiceover artist,
things are
and
changing
slightly
now,
stupid. Yeah.
Moira. You're looking good now. Everything's going well. And I'm sure the next Skyrim, you're going to be another main character, hopefully. Whatever it's called, Elder Scrolls, I think they're calling it Elder Scrolls 6. But out of all
Are they
that,
having a competition with Fast and Furious, do you think?
I know, Fast 10. I mean,
Yeah.
guys,
They're on 10. Come on, catch up.
you got to let it go at 10. Surely.
Surely.
Surely 10's enough, you know?
Surely we are replete with Fast and Furiouses now.
Oh, the last one was terrible. Sorry, whoever liked that film.
Oh,
Uh, what I was going to say is, of all the characters that you've worked on, I'm in the gaming world. We'll keep it to the gaming world. Which character would you have liked more time with?
oh gosh. Well, is it a cheat to say just because it's the most recent, but it was such a weird and many times sort of an interrupted journey with Professor Garlick because of COVID. There would be some time, it would be nice to sort of revisit her, having it all
Mm,
settled and knowing exactly where she sits in that world and maybe experimenting a bit more there
I think there's a
or
lot you
digging
could do.
deeper.
Yeah,
I think there's
because
lots to be discovered there.
yeah, because we don't spend an exuberant amount of time with her compared to some other characters. There's still a lot there we could
Yeah.
learn for sure. And with the game selling so well, you'd hope there was a sequel. Well, there will be. Let's be honest. In the current landscape, with those sort of sales, you'd think that they're going to do another one. So you never
Yes.
know if it's in the same sort of world.
Well,
Same.
were that to happen, that would be a very lovely thing. And also just, I mean, even if I'm not necessarily sitting down most nights and gaming away, um, I do feel that there's something about gentle characters in this world of gaming. I know that there are, like, I've done, whatever, I played little cute characters, sort of more based on Japanese games where it's sort of that cuteness. But that's cute, and she's real. And I think she's rather special.
Mm, definitely. And you're right. A lot of, over the years, it's been a lot of hard hitting female characters. So they have to sort of compete with the men in terms of the
There
way they're
was,
written. Do you know what I mean?
oh well, I mean, when I probably first started auditioning for games, it was just astounding how many female warriors there would be
Yeah.
who decided really all they needed was an armored brassiere with their midriff completely exposed to go into war. And it's like,
Yeah.
sure, why don't you just use the most vulnerable part of your body and just have it exposed with your massive
It's so
boobs
true.
and
It's
your
so
very heavy sword? And so I,
yeah.
I, I would just, I'd come back home and tell my husband, yeah, another one of those midriff exposed warriors again. And once again, not terribly flat chested.
No, all of us,
That's
yeah,
got to be a problem.
they're never flat chested. Tell
They're
me
never.
why.
It's just
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
she's going to be running across the battlefield, that's going to be problematic. Um, so
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
I think there were a lot of, yeah, there is a lot of overcompensating,
Mm,
I think perhaps.
yeah.
And maybe, yeah.
But I feel like it's slowly changing. I feel like there's a lot more diversity in the roles now. I feel like.
I
Um,
think I see so much of that even in TV and film now. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's a little late in the game, but it's very, very welcome.
mm, yeah. Hey, is there anything you wanted to say to the Hogwarts fans that have tuned in today? Is there anything you wanted to pass on to them or people who are fans of your other work over the years? I know you were Mo in
Yes,
in
yes.
what is it,
Back in my
Nickelodeon?
Nickelodeon days,
Yeah,
yes.
man, that's crazy. That's a
In my
throwback.
in my stripy shirt, being all young
How
and
old were you
winsome,
then when you got that gig? By the way,
like 22.
wow, yeah,
Yeah.
you were so professional in
And
that at that age.
I was dumb.
Duh.
I didn't know how it worked, but I was keen, and it was
Yeah,
yeah, and it was in Florida as well that we shot that. So yeah,
wow,
that was sort of like my introduction to,
to the
TV
world.
and that into that world. Yeah, I was like, hello. And it took me probably a year to realize, oh, nobody understands me. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I still spoke now, I mean, I still have my accent, but I have a very American lexicon, and the only thing that would probably confuse people is if I speak too quickly, if I say something super, super English.
Yeah,
But then, no, it was just like full 100% Britishness just shooting out of my mouth constantly. And I think for a year, people just nodded at me like, well, she looks nice. I don't know what the hell she's talking about, but so there was
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
What would I say?
yeah.
Well,
What would you say? Yeah.
I would just say thank you. And that I hope what I have added to the other million creatives in this game and the hours and hours that they put in, and that I sort of come in and do my little part. I hope it has been pleasing to you and has lifted you in some way. And I
Definitely
hope,
has. Definitely
yeah.
has. No, thank you so much for coming on today, Maura. We really do appreciate it. I do, you know, the voice is so calming that I need you. Is there anything that she can say to Dan? Because I need to hear it one more time before we end it because, it's going to
And
brighten my day.
I think perhaps you're not giving yourself enough credit. And perhaps go and purchase yourself some soil and some seeds. And maybe have your plastic plants look at your real plants and show them that, yes, they can do it. You've got it in you. You can do this. Will that work?
Thank you.
Oh,
thank you so much. That's brilliant. Oh, thank you. Oh. I don't know what to say. I'm flabbergasted.
Are you gobsmacked and flabbergasted?
So you got a new website coming?
I do. I've got a new
Twitter.
website coming. You can follow me on Twitter at Moira Quirk, and you can follow me on Instagram. I quite like Instagram. At Moira Quirk. I mean, I kept it simple. And
beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard the last name Quirk before. I have to say.
It's Irish.
It's Irish. Okay.
Yes, Moira Shannon Quirk there. You can't get more Irish than that. Except, I guess we assimilated quite well. All over the place. You can't stop the Irish going here, there, and everywhere. So yeah, I think it's sort of a derivation of Cork. And I'm sure any of your listeners who just went, "That's wrong," will let you know. But I said it with confidence.
Yeah, you got to say if you got it with confidence.
It's clearly a derivation of Cork. Clearly.
And potential cameo down the line. We're not saying no to it yet, or a live signing or anything like that.
I'm not saying no to anything, but I'm creeping slowly there. Yeah. And if you have ever written anything to me on Twitter or Instagram and I didn't get to you, it's not because I hate you. It's just because I'm a bit pathetic. Sorry, I shouldn't end like that. Social media is a struggle for me, but I'm going to conquer it. Okay,
I'm going to write to you on Instagram and I want a response, Moira, all right?
Yes, it's going to happen. Okay. It's going to be glorious.
All right. No, thank you so much. I know you've got to head to bed. It's late there, but again, we really appreciate it. And
once
really
again,
great
it's
job.
only 8:07. I'm not that pathetic.
Okay.
But 9 o'clock, then I've got to get my pajamas on. Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was stopping you. Thanks. Sorry.
Look, we really appreciate it and really great job over the years on several characters, and we look forward to many more to come over the next. Hopefully, you just keep going, keep churning out these great characters.
Churn away. I'll put my dirndl on. Thank you so much, Dan. It's been lovely. I'm glad we could make this work.
Thank you. And